So now Diego's got his new enclosure, his brand new big bearded dragon setup. Hashtag if you didn't see that, check the video before this one. Now he's got this. It's left us with a couple of problems. We've got one enclosure down there that's just sat there spare. It's a good enclosure. That used to be the one that was sat on top, but now it takes up way too much room and the plugs and stuff can't reach that high. So I've had to take it down. It's put down there. But I've also got Diego's old enclosure just sat there. And I'm sat there thinking they've both got a good frame. That's a good enclosure and that's got a good framework about it. So what can I do? I don't want to just get rid of them. I can't really give them away because the Reptile Rescue doesn't need them. They've got enough in at the moment. I'm sat there, what do I do? And then it hit me. I've got two enclosures. I went down the Reptile Rescue yesterday and they have a few tortoises in. And I'm sat there thinking, I've always wanted a leopard tortoise, but I've never really been in the position to have one. I am slightly more now. And they've got a few in. Oh, what do I do? How can I incorporate these two enclosures together in that area there? So I've got that area. It's right next to Hugo. Now what I'm thinking is one of them is slightly longer, about that much longer than the other. Well, every inch matters, obviously, ask any woman. But stick the 4 foot along there with the glass facing this way. And then get the other enclosure, which is just shy of 4 foot, and stick it there, glass facing that way. So take the glasses out, join them up together, so they're one big like 3 foot by 4 foot deep enclosure, and then build like a door inside it. I've got a heat source which I can fit inside it. I can also like attach a piece of wood to there, bringing it out sort of this sort of far with a couple of mercury vapor bulbs on it and a UV lamp and stuff like that. And then I can have a nighttime den for a big tortoise like a leopard tortoise, which is my dream species. If I was going to get a tortoise, it'd be a leopard or a horsefeild. Maybe even get both. They do have both. Oh. Imagine how much extra space it'd have walking around and stuff like that. I can stick all the bedding and stuff inside it that it needs. I've got all the requirements that I could possibly get it. And it's just a brainwave. So I'm sat here now thinking, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to get these enclosures. It's not going to cost me a lot of money to actually conjoin them. And I'm going to get them in. First of all, for my plan to actually be able to go ahead, I've got to get the electrics out of this enclosure. I've got to get the full background out of this enclosure. I've got to get this full face off the front, get all the glass off. It's only a couple of screws. I've got to get that supporting beam just there. I've got to get that out of the enclosure. That was just there because there was a load of weight on it at one point. Can you see that mesh at the back underneath the big vents? Well, that all needs to come out solely because that's just going to be added ventilation. You can see it just there. And all the electrics, I've got to get that out as well. And then the obvious, clean it out, get that surrounding out, get all the substrate out, and just leave it as a bare enclosure. That needs to come out. All the substrate comes out. Top tip for taking substrate out, if it's dusty substrate, give it just a gentle spray down with a bit of water. It just sort of helps that dust just stay at bay. So it doesn't really get up your nose and all that sort of stuff. You see, now when we built this background, we actually built it in stages. So we've got this one back corner here. You can see the big crease going down there. That's because the back is actually 2 pieces and then the sides are separate pieces. But if we can get this out, check out. Oh, look at that. Check out how thick that background actually is. It's 2.5 inches thick. Wow. And believe it or not, that was one of the biggest problems with this enclosure, was the background just took up too much space. You think 2.5 inches on one side, 2.5 inches on the other side, 2.5 inches from the back. It soon closes it all in. And that's why Diego's new big enclosure is only 1 inch thick the whole way around, just to give him that more space inside while still looking nice and still insulating his whole enclosure. Now, to get this whole front fascia off, we've got one screw there, one on the other side, and this one just here in the middle. Hopefully that'll take off this middle rung, and then we'll be able to get the glass out the top, and the bottom should just slide straight out. Then all the black runners will be able to peel off separately. Nearly. 3. There's the top piece of glass. Lift. Like a glove. That's all the electrics out. Look at all that electrics just out of that one little bearded dragon enclosure. What? Now this next one, we've got the only thing that's really any valuable in here is our 3 different isopod cultures. Basically in the UK we had a big isopod shortage and a springtail shortage, so I started breeding my own. I'll leave a playlist up there if you want to figure out how to do it for yourself. I've just put them. Do you see them just there on top of the bearded dragon enclosure? Just for now while I sort the rest of this out, because what we've got to do with this one, it's a little bit different. We've got to get the glass out, then we've got a thermostat probe, That thermostat's actually going to stay in here because this has got a heat source. We can add an ambient heat source for a nighttime temperature inside the tortoise's enclosure with that setup still there. So we're going to leave that in there. We've got a couple of shelves in there which we've got to try and get out. And then we're going to try and get out these metal ridges. I forgot how Viv Exotics actually installed them, so that should be quite fun. I figured it out. These top teeth are held in by screws that are directly underneath. As soon as I get these screws out, the glass should fall out, so I've got to be careful. Boof, that's down. There goes the screw, and in theory, boof, there we go. So get that top one off, and then the glass. I'm running out of space to put all the junk from this. And the glass, we've got a lot of glass off this enclosure. What should I do from this with all this glass? I'll normally just recycle it, but maybe I can make something. Get the shelves out. It's just a couple of these Allen wrench bolts. That's all it is. It's got one there for the upright, one there and one there for the flat, and then one there and there for the flat again. That's it. It's a bit overkill for that, but both. There's the first shelf out. Now for this one, it should, both, just there. There's the next one out. When it's all in place, you can see a few little discrepancies. One, we have got the heat source over that back corner, nice and tight. So when he goes in on his for nighttime sleep, he can go right over into that back corner. It's not going to be perfect temperature. We're only going to make it nice and warm for him, but not daytime warm. That way he's got his day and night routine if he does go in there and stuff like that. But it does stick out a little bit, as you can tell. So what we've got a straight edge, and we're going to put that along there, draw a line, get it cut out with the jigsaw, and take that side panel off. And we're possibly even going to cut it down this side here as well. So he has a big opening where he can go in, but where not too much light is actually going to get in. So once I actually cut out the back panel, I noticed it was a bit flimsy on the top. So I'm just going to add in a couple of supports, top to bottom, just to make it that little bit rigid. That way, I mean, worst case scenario, I'll be able to even sit on it, just to sit and chill and relax while I've got some friends around or something. Little tortoise running through my legs. That'd be quite funny. Ooh, there's the supports in. Now, it's not pretty. It's not pretty by any means, but it can be made pretty with just decor. So we've got one support going up there, and we've got one support going up there. Full space inside. You can see the thermostat probe right down that back corner, because that's where the heat dome is going to go on there, and that'll be able to give him a nighttime temperature. I'm well chuffed with this so far. Now I'm thinking for heat and UV, I've still got some bits to do to this. I've got to get some brackets to secure the two enclosures together really, really firmly. But I'm thinking if I can stick like a bracket up here, coming over here, with like a UV area just there, it'll be able to bask up really nicely just there, temperature and UV. Or I might do it just in front, I don't know yet. We've not figured that piece out yet. We're just concentrating on the nighttime den. So now it's about securing the two bottom enclosures together. It's quite simple actually, because we've got these. They're just bars with a load of screws, and we're just basically going to put a few directly across, some on the back wall, some on the ceiling, and that just secures them together. We're not planning on moving around. Doesn't need to be massively secure. Hold on, what was that? That's just a simple bog standard tortoise table, a little 4-foot tortoise table, something for like a horsefeild tortoise or something. And the only reason we've got that is at Cheshire Reptile Rescue, they have a few animals that are long-term sick. They're going through medication or visual inspections. They need to keep an eye on them for so long before they can get rehoused. But they can't do that all the time in the actual reptile rescue, because they have millions of animals in and out all the time. Hundreds of animals, not really minimals. So we might end up fostering one or two over the next few months, and we've got a tortoise table to be able to do that. So then we run inside and we silicone all the gap, the whole bottom, the sides and the top, just to make it so if we put any substrate in there, it's not going to fall out the bottom. We have the securing brackets in there, and that's that enclosure secured. That little tortoise table, now I've been setting it all up over the past couple of days. It's been a couple of days since my last clip on this video, and this tortoise table got donated into the Reptile Rescue, and it is a really good tortoise table. I mean, like, it's got this, I mind the flickering, it's got this hole where you can lift it up and you can see inside. All the joints have been done really good. It is really, really sturdy. It's a proper sturdy 4-foot long, 2-foot wide tortoise table. This is where you get some importance that come into keeping a tortoise and any reptile that's sort of diurnal that needs UV lighting anyway. This tortoise table got handed in with the tortoise and the last three mercury vapor bulbs that it had had. Now they've all got, you can see like the writing and stuff, they've all got the date that they were changed, how long they were in for, all written on them. But I'm not too sure it's actually true, solely because, I mean, there's one of the other ones. So these are like the Neo Rep Reptiglobes. I got two of them. There was an Arcadia 80 watt mercury vapor bulb, and there was another box with what she thought was a mercury vapor bulb, but it was actually a 150 watt basking bulb. Because I put it all in, and I've got my solar meter, and I checked them, no UV. Oh, okay, that's an 80 watt. I'll move that one out. That's obviously a burnt out one. I'll move it out. I'll put the next one in. 0.02 UVI. Hold on a second. So that's not the adequate amount of UV by far. And none of these were actually getting up to temperature on his basking spot. So I was like, oh God. Now, whether that's because a mercury vapor bulb, you don't have a thermostat, because you can't thermostat UVB. Maybe it's just this room temperature isn't hot enough to keep that basking spot at a temperature that it's actually going to be suitable at. So I put the next one in. No, still didn't reach up to the adequate amount. So what I've learned basically is the importance of a 6.5 solar meter. This tells you how much UV you've actually got coming from your UV lamps. So if you are using like a mercury vapor and stuff, you can put it under there just to see when your UV is actually burnt out. We can use it with any UV lamp, the Eco T5s, the Pro T5s, mercury vapors, any T8s and T5s, anything that provides UVI. This will tell you what it actually is. I'll leave them linked in the description down below, but keep in mind, these are not cheap at all. So I went out and bought myself a 80 watt Arcadia one, just a stock standard 80 watt, and that wasn't getting up to temperature. Now, in an enclosure that's an enclosed enclosure, it probably would get up to temperature, but it wasn't doing it here. So I thought, now, do you know what? I'm just going to go with that 150 watt basking bulb. I'm just going to put a strip UV light over there for now. I mean, that's not going to be a forever enclosure for the animals. Let me show you what actually will be. Because like I say, that's going to be for a tortoise, that like a little tortoise, a horsefeild tortoise or something like that we do need. I'm thinking, whoosh, that whole bottom shaft there is 7 foot long, 3 foot deep nearly, and I'm going to put those enclosures up there, in theory. In theory, that's the theory case for it. Anyway, so we can build a full custom one. So make sure you subscribe to see a fully custom built tortoise table. But are you... Let me introduce you to somebody. Free roaming around my place at the minute. Hello, Ultron. Yep, we actually did pick one up. This is Ultron. Why is it called Ultron? I have absolutely no idea. Jacob named him. Jacob came down to the reptile rescue with me when I was trying to pick up some new lamps and stuff like that. And he said, we've already got the enclosure set up. Can we have him? I was like, do you know what? What's his story, Greg? Can we sort of... Is this one that we could keep in that tortoise table? And he was like, you can keep it in there for some time. Don't keep him in there forever, because this guy is extremely active. Keep in mind, this wasn't an impulse buy as such. I've been doing my research and I've been looking into it for years and years and years and years. A tortoise is just something I've always wanted. Granted, I wanted a leopard tortoise, which is one thing that I am still going to go for, because I've still got the whole setup ready and everything. But I've never really been in the position. But I've done all my research, I've done everything like that. And it was just one of those things where the opportunity was there, it arose, and I said, do you know what? I'm ready for this now. I can do this now. So we have. So what his story is, quite frankly, not too much. He come into the rescue, he's 16 years old, he's a horsefeild tortoise, and he's had to have his beak trimmed down, but that's about it. He is extremely active, and for some reason he's not so active right this second, but it is early morning, he has just woke up, and this is the sort of enclosure we've got for him at the moment. We've got the UV lamp, which is just a bog standard UV lamp. We've got the solar meter down, we've checked all the UVI measurements and stuff, and that is working perfectly fine. We put 5% in there, and with that distance, I thought, you know what, that's probably going to be good enough, actually. I checked it, and it was nowhere near good enough, so it just shows you the T8s are just not that powerful at all. That T8 I had lying around in mine, it is brand new, that I've just not used yet, so mind the flickering. I'll try and change it so we can't see the flickering. It's a little bit better, but nothing special. But yeah, so that's got a 10% UV lamp in there. And just to get the correct UVI over that area, we've put it over that area solely because this is the basking spot and a UV spot. So it's just going to be like nature for him. Here's a little information for you about the flickering, actually. Do you go do this with your animals and see that flickering? Well, what it is, can you see this ballast box down here? If you've got anything like that, then chances are it's going to flicker just like that. And why is that? Well, that runs on something called 50 hertz or 60 hertz per second. So that means it sends an electric current through there 50 to 60 times per second. Every time an electric current goes through there, you can see it flickers. And that is what a magnetic ballast does. Whereas if you can go for something along the lines of, let's see if this... You notice how this one's not flickering? or you can't really notice a flicker? Well, that's because that is the Eco T5 unit by Reptile Systems, and that has a hertz of around about something stupid like 1,000. So that flicks 1,000 times per second, and that's why you don't really notice it. Now, my question is, do you think your animals notice the flickering? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, because if your animals notice it, why are we using UV with a magnetic ballast when we can use them with the Eco T5, which I think these are called an electronic ballast? It's just something to think about. Just grab your phone camera, stick it on record, and have a look and see what your UV does. If it flicks like this, you're on a magnetic ballast. If it doesn't flicker like this, you're on an electronic ballast. An electronic ballast. See, now I can say it when I'm not under pressure filming and stuff like that. An electronic ballast. Do you mess up saying that as well? An electronic ballast. All the temperatures and stuff, they're all perfect for him. And we don't know how long we've got him for. We don't know if he's going to stay with us forever. But Jacob named him Ultron. Something to do with Spider-Man. I'm not too sure, but he's absolutely amazing. Let's feed him. What I do want to ask all you guys, if you're experienced with horsefeild tortoises, there's always stuff in to do with like their care or their requirements, or even just random little hacks that the care guides don't tell you. The paperwork don't tell you. The research doesn't tell you until you've actually owned it, and then you actually realise. One thing I've already noticed with him is, because obviously he's only in there for not too much, to be fair. He's moving around like a lunatic. I let him out all the time and he's walking around and whatever like that. Don't leave a cup of coffee laying down because he likes to knock it over. Be careful with the plant. I did have like a big bowl underneath it to catch some of the water that dripped through. He knocked it straight over. So I've learned a few little life hacks already. But if you've got any life hacks, let me know in the comments down below, because I'm curious to learn from your mistakes before I make those mistakes, if you know what I mean. That's like one thing I like to promote on this channel, learn from my mistakes. Now it's your turn to back up. We've got some spring greens. I figured, you know, I'm going to do a week's worth of food for him and the leopard tortoise when I eventually get that set up complete. I'll just make like at the beginning of the week, make it all up so it's nice and fresh, and drop it in. Look at him. Hello, buddy. A piece of spring greens. You're hungry, buddy? See, look, it's all about taming him down at the minute, because he's not that timid. He liked to taste the fingers when he was on the way over here. You want some food? See, now, this is the thing I'm trying to promote here, is hand feeding, make it so he's not scared of me, and just see where we go from that. He is a very, very sort of, he seems like the type of animal that's been just left alone for a while, not really paid too much attention to. And he's not really that... He's handleable, because all tortoises are handleable. You can just pick them up. But he's not that confident with it. So it's a case of just sort of see where we go. Are you ready, buddy? You're going to have a little nibble. So for the food, we're just going to grab some spring greens. Just going to grab... He likes his food, this one. So I'm just going to grab a handful and drop it on the slate. That way, when he comes over to eat, he's like sort of shaving down his beak a little bit. And I'm not just going to leave it like that, because you can't. So I've got Reptile Systems Calcium Ultra. Now... Get a bit of that sprinkled over the top. That's not enough. Oh, that's by far enough. So I'll get that back down there and I'll mix it all up a little bit. So there's a bit of coated calcium on every piece, and just leave it like that, and then he will eventually go over to there and have a little nibble. So that's Ultron, the horsefeild tortoise. Thanks for tuning in. Go check out Cheshire Reptile Rescue over on their Facebook page. And peace out, guys. I love every single one of you. Happy birthday, Scott from Scott's Inverts.